You moving. Luttrell has cost-effective belts, conveyor components, and 24/7 on-site service to keep you operating smoothly. Text or just a phone call away at 800-441-8946 or online at LuttrellBelting.com. Luttrell's Memphis plant stocks belting in nearly every size and finish, and if they don't have it, they'll make it. From ordering to selection, fabrication, and installation, your Luttrell sales rep is there for you. Luttrell Belting keeps you moving.
Make your next grill your last with a Big Green Egg. Smoke, bake, roast, sear, and grill, all with a lifetime warranty. Save money on fuel, eating out, and replacing expensive grills that cannot match the flavor of the Big Green Egg. Ready to cook in only 10 to 15 minutes with temperatures below 200, above 700, and anywhere in between with ease. Change your at-home cooking experience for life. Go to shop.biggreenegg.com.
So you need to sell your house? I have the solution. Call 901-406-1101. That's 901-406-1101. Call my buddy Bill and I buy houses. Any house, any area, as is. It's literally as simple as that. Just pick up your phone. Call 901-406-1101. That's 901-406-1101. Call my buddy Bill and I buy houses. Guaranteed to close in 5 days. If you need to sell your house fast, call Bill at 901-406-1101.
Brett,
Bill
I had no idea you
houses.
Connected to Zoom, and we got to a break time. I was like, yeah, Brett, like, connected to the Zoom and, like, waved at me and then got off. He's like, I don't know what was going on.
Joining Brian and Brett now on Sportstime is National College Football writer for CBS Sports, Memphis native and Tennessee grad, who you can find on Twitter X at David W. Cobb. It's David Cobb.
David Cobb joins us now from CBS Sports to talk some college football and college basketball, but I'd take a guess today will be pretty much only college football as week 0 is behind us. We finally made it to week 1 of the college football season. David, thanks so much for joining us, and I want to start off with the game that had probably the most eyeballs on it over the weekend, Georgia Tech and Florida State. It started our day here on the state side, ended their day in Dublin. What did you make of Georgia Tech's performance and their win over Florida State?
Wow, what a start. Like, we're back. We made it.
Are.
We made it through the entire off season, and what a way to start. A game-winning field goal on the final second. Conference game, too. So, I mean, that's meaningful because, you know, the surest path to the college football playoffs is to win your league, especially when you're in the ACC or the Big 12, because those leagues are going to be fighting to get 2 bids apiece. And so you look at the ACC, maybe one other team aside from the league champion gets in. You look at the Big 12, same deal. So Florida State, not a lot of room for error there, and they've already tripped up. So just, I guess, a little bit of a shocker when you think about the fact that this was a 13-0 Florida State team last season that went really, really hard in the transfer portal, comes in as a double-digit favorite, and just falls flat. What a deflating moment for that fan base.
Yeah, I was surprised by it. I thought Georgia Tech would scare them. I didn't think they would pull the upset. And then after the botch snap, I thought, well, here it goes. FSU pulls it out in overtime. But then Georgia Tech made a big third down play to get back in more makeable field goal range. Youngster knocked it through, and Tech's happy. I think Tech settles in at about a 7 or 8 win season. And, David, we're really going to get it a week from today when we kind of have Mulligan Monday and into Tuesday next week. All these predictions that, and I'm as guilty of it as anybody out there, we're so certain of it at media days. We're so certain of today. And then next week we're thinking, how could I ever pick that? I look at Florida State now and I see 3 or 4 losses.
Without a doubt. The DJU experiment, there's just no guarantee with that. Mm-hmm. If your running game isn't really, really sound, really, really solid, I don't know that he can go out and win you games. He just hasn't been that guy over the course of his career who can put a team on his back and will them to victory. So if you're Florida State, you're banking on your offensive line being able to outmuscle everyone in the ACC. Well, you couldn't even outmuscle Georgia Tech. Mm-hmm. So where does that leave you in that conference? they'll get it together. They'll improve. Will they improve enough to be a double-digit favorite against Memphis? I'm not so sure about that one. That's something to keep an eye on from a local standpoint. What does that game and what we saw from Florida State, how does that change the way you look at the Memphis-Florida State game? Because I think going into the season, you're looking at that one and thinking, I don't know what you guys are thinking locally, but I'm thinking long shot for Memphis to go into Tallahassee and get a win. And it's still a tall task, but it feels a lot more manageable after the way Georgia Tech was able to handle Florida State. So I'm not going to sit here and tell you, Memphis is going down to Tallahassee and going to win. But I wouldn't be at all surprised if that opening point spread is below 10 points when the lines come out for Memphis, Florida State.
David, sometimes I have to turn to Bryant and to his brother Connor and to Darian to help me with some generational things. But here's two I didn't need any help on. I think DJU is the definition of what the youngster today call mid.
Yes. What a pull by you, Brett. That was impressive. That was great.
Thank you, Brian.
Gold medal, sir.
That was good.
Isn't he, David?
Yes. He is. He's very mid. He's very mid. Another one that you hear a lot is he's a jag.
I only went there because I don't really know how to pronounce MEH. Is it me or meh?
Meh.
Okay.
Yeah,
all right.
Yeah, he's meh. He's mid. He's just a guy. Yeah, for sure. So Jordan Travis was a lot more than that. Jordan Travis was more than just a guy. He was better than mid. There was nothing meh about Jordan Travis.
Gamer.
He had obviously developed into a bit of a star. So I think it's clear you're dealing with a downgrade in quarterback play. You got a lot of NFL draft picks missing from that team a year ago. And it's hard to just snap your fingers and plug in 29 transfers and just pick up right where you left off. Yeah. Although I guess you could argue that in some ways Florida State did kind of pick up where they left off because they got spanked by Georgia in the bowl game, and now here they are losing their very next game.
Yeah, there's not carrying, and then there's losing by 60.
Well, you know what, though? Losing to Georgia by 60, there's really no shame in that, honestly, given the circumstances. But I think there is a little bit of shame in going out there and losing to Georgia Tech because the way Florida State started that game, they scored that touchdown drive looked pretty easy out of the gate, and then they went for two, which felt like hey, we are not here to mess around. We're not just going to win, but we're going to blow your socks off. And then it was just they got nothing the rest of the game. I mean, Georgia Tech's defense, or pin it on the Florida State offense, or give the credit to the Georgia Tech defense. I don't care how you want to do it, but Florida State couldn't get anything going for the rest of the game after that. So, I mean, that was concerning. The fact that this was a really bad Georgia Tech defense a year ago, and FSU got nothing going on them for the rest of the game.
Yeah, well, and you kind of mentioned it earlier. This Florida State defense against Georgia Tech's run game really could not slow them down at all, and that kind of was one of the biggest things that jumped out to me. And now they've got to turn around, and it is a home game, but against a team that gave them fits last year in Boston College that has a quarterback that will run all over them. Should there be any worry after what you saw from Florida State's defense about this upcoming weekend's game against Boston College?
Yeah, it may be because Boston College has the advantage of seeing what Florida State has.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm sure there's some play calls and formations that Mike Norvell didn't use in that game that he might use against Boston College. But BC has a game worth of tape now on this version of FSU. You can't even go back to last year and find tape on Boston College because it's a new regime under Bill O'Brien. So unless you're going back to his Alabama tape when he was the offensive coordinator there, or you want to go back to when last time he was a college head coach at Penn State, a decade or more ago, right? So there's a little bit of an advantage there for Boston College. That line, I believe, came out today a -17 for the Noles. You can look at that one of two ways. You can say they're going to go out there and just take out a lot of frustration. I could see that, or you could really just trust your eyes and say that, you know what, I don't know that this is a team that's going to beat a conference opponent by 17 points.
That was a 31-29 game last year.
Right, and obviously, yeah, with Thomas Castellanos, their quarterback for Boston College, they are dangerous enough to. I mean, can you imagine I can't even imagine an 0-2 start for Florida State. Then they get Memphis, right? So it's obviously I thought this was going to be a little bit of a reload for the Noles, but they've got their work cut out for them now to get to a respectable sort of 9-3 type of season.
Give me the game in the SEC this Saturday that you would most like to attend. Would it be the U against Florida? Would it be Clemson and Georgia? Would it be A&M and Notre Dame? Maybe even into Sunday, USC and LSU.
Well, you don't think I'd like to be at a Virginia Tech and Vanderbilt?
Ooh, great
I like Virginia
call.
Tech. I like Virginia Tech to maybe win the ACC.
Wow.
Yeah, they are. They are that dark horse sort of team. I'm facetious a bit there, although that one is interesting in a lot of ways. But I think if I had to pick, I would go with Miami and Florida, just because there's so much pressure on both coaches and both teams in that game. Whereas you go around the league, let's take Notre Dame, Texas A&M, for example. I don't think there is a ton of pressure on Texas A&M. Obviously, if you start out your coaching career there and you're Mike Elko and you beat a top 10 team at home, that's phenomenal. Congratulations. But if you lose in your very first game there to a top 10 opponent, I don't think that the message boards are going to be calling for your head. But if you're Mario Cristobal or you're Billy Napier and you lose week one, it starts what could be a very, very difficult downward spiral for your team, because Miami has playoff aspirations. They've stocked their roster. Florida has to win in the first 5, 6, 7 weeks of the season, because they face a murderer's row in the second half of the year, and that's an in-state rivalry game. So I just think there's a lot at stake in Miami and Florida, beyond the fact that it's a battle of in-state teams and rivals there. So that would be my pick, probably the Noles and the Gators. The Canes and the Gators. Sorry.
Right. All summer we thought the hardest one to pick for the conference champions that presume will get the top 4 seeds. Memphis could, or a group of 5 could, but we thought it was the Big 12. Now, after Saturday, there's about 4 or 5 or 6 ACC teams I'm looking at quite differently, and Virginia Tech could be one of those with Brent Pry.
And aren't you looking at SMU a little bit differently, too, after they needed a pretty heroic fourth quarter to beat Nevada as a 27.5-point favorite? So that was almost a disaster for the ACC in week 0, and it still may very well have been, when you consider the fact.
You mean for Jim Phillips, Ph.D., commissioner of the ACC?
Right.
How arrogant is that?
Right. He's tough to watch. He's tough to watch.
Boy, he is.
And the ACC might be too. I mean, so that's another reason why that Miami-Florida game is so significant, because look, there's a real chance that Clemson goes out and loses to Georgia by 30 points. Florida State has already lost. Those are your only 2 top 15 teams in the preseason poll. And if Miami loses to Florida, are you kidding me? The bottom is falling out of the ACC before September. So it's already a rough start for the ACC. A lot of people thought SMU was going to be a dark horse to win that league. They look like they might struggle to win the Mountain West if they were in that conference. So
I'm not cracking on anybody having a PhD. I'm cracking on that he insists that be his introduction and on the Chiron for an introduction. And guess where he got that PhD, David?
Oh, where from?
Tennessee.
Wow.
No kidding. Wow.
Yeah.
How about that?
Well,
PhD means you're smart, doesn't it?
Well, I was always taught in journalism school that when you're writing an article, you do not refer to the person you're talking about as a doctor unless they are a medical doctor. And I kind of feel like that should kind of apply for the PhD crowd there as well. But Jim Phillips, they might not have a lot going for him on the field this year. So, if he wants to tout his PhD from the University of Tennessee, then I guess it just means more,
Well, yeah, it sure does just mean more. You mentioned SMU, and we saw both quarterbacks. We knew going into it we would see both Preston Stone and Kevin Jennings. Kevin Jennings came on strong at the end of the season last year when he had to come in when Preston Stone was injured. But it really felt like, especially Preston Stone early in that game, never got comfortable, kind of because he knew, hey, I'm going to be pulled any second now to give Kevin Jennings a shot. It didn't feel like either of those quarterbacks could really get comfortable throughout that game, obviously until the end when Preston Stone was able to lead the team down and win that game against Nevada. What do you think about the idea? I mean, obviously SMU thought going into it they were like a 27-point favorite. I'm sure Rhett Lashley thought, we'll be able to see both these quarterbacks. It'll be fine. We're going to blow this team out. But it was far from that case on Saturday against Nevada.
Yeah, that was wildly concerning. I had talked myself into SMU 27.5. and here they are. Here they are struggling to scrape out a victory against a Nevada team in its first year under a new coach in Jeff Choate, a team that has won, I think 4 games over the last 2 years. So at the absolute bottom of the barrel in the Mountain West, and this is your first game as a member of the ACC. And yeah, I didn't love the way they handled the quarterback situation, and I mean, defensively, they weren't spectacular either.
No.
So the SMU, though, is one of those teams where I would think they'll get it together. Rhett Lashley has been too prolific of an offensive coach over the course of his career to let that be the product. And there were a couple instances where penalties really got him behind the chain.
Penalties all over the place.
Yeah, the first possession's an interception. So it's obviously, I think there's some stuff they can clean up there. And you're going to see a lot of that this week. A lot of week one. Teams that just shoot themselves in the foot. They're not just totally ready yet. And then we're going to overreact. And then a month later, we're going to look up and realize that, oh, yeah, maybe that team is a little better than we thought they were going to be after week one. So there's going to be a lot of that. And I'll reserve my final judgment on SMU until we see them in a different setting. But that was obviously not the debut that I think anybody in the ACC thought we were going to get from SMU.
Yeah.
Isn't the A&M Notre Dame game isn't that setting up to be the overreaction bowl both ways, regardless who wins and who loses?
Sure, because if A&M wins, we're going to anoint them a playoff team. We're going to say that Mike Elko is the greatest coach in college football. Now that Nick Saban has retired. And you can say the same for Notre Dame. We're going to, you know what? I'll get on this bandwagon. If Notre Dame wins Texas A&M, I'm ready to call them a playoff team. I'm just if they go down to Kyle Field with Riley Leonard at quarterback and win in front of 100,000 plus fans, night game in that environment, then yeah, I'll go there. I'll overreact big time to Notre Dame. But with Texas A&M, I think you got to take a more cautious approach.
I don't know how much an overreaction that really is, David, because we agreed all summer that if Notre Dame wins that, they cakewalk all the way through until they play FSU November 9th. Now playing at Georgia Tech October 19th looks tougher than at FSU November 9th.
You're right. Isn't that crazy?
That's crazy.
So, yeah.
We know so much to know so little, don't we?
Right. And then you close the season at USC. That's it. I mean, the schedule is light. And now, Florida State was your only top 10 opponent going into the year. Well, they're not going to be a top 10 team anymore. And so that schedule just looks so easy. And I realize Notre Dame has problems already at left tackle where their projected starter is already done for the year. But that's why you bring in Riley Leonard. He's mobile. He can escape the pocket. He can make things happen with his legs. And your defense is just supposed to be nasty. If their defense is as good as we think it's going to be, then Texas A&M doesn't get more than 14 points in this game on Saturday, and you're able to win a slugfest, and then you go out there and you just squeeze the life out of everybody else on your schedule. And I really think there's a chance that's what Notre Dame could be. They could be Iowa with a little bit more. Iowa with a quarterback. How about that? Because Riley Leonard can play, and I don't think Notre Dame has had a dynamic QB like that in quite a while. So, yeah, if Notre Dame wins, I am going to overreact.
Oh, like it. Talking to David Cobb. He joins us every single Monday. Talk college football and college basketball from CBS Sports. And David, a game I'm really looking forward to, it's a Thursday night game rather than the Saturday game. North Dakota State at Colorado. Dion has already talked about how he doesn't love this game being week one. So the rare two questions in one. What do you think about this game? We've already seen one FCS team beat an FBS school with Montana State beating New Mexico, except look out for New Mexico. I love their offense with Bronco Mendenhall. They could be fun this year. But this game with North Dakota State and Colorado, what do you think about that? And also, what did you think about Dion banning the columnist from the Denver Post from asking him questions in press conferences?
I wouldn't love it if I were the columnist for the Denver Post. And I wouldn't love it if I were the beat writer at the Denver Post who's trying to maintain, decent working relationships.
The rest of the room shouldn't love it either, Dave.
Yeah.
Right. At the same time, this is Dion's thing, man. He's got to generate enemies for his players. That's just his MO. I mean, you go back to him as a baseball player and dumping the water cooler on Tim McCarver in the locker room. I mean, he's been antagonistic with certain specific members of the media for as long as he's been around. I mean, we see it in politics, we see it in sports. Like it's just sort of a strategy. I think that's what it is. It's a strategy to get people riled up, to get people talking about him, to give give him something to point his players at. Something to, just like Kirby Smart makes up fake news articles about how people are saying Georgia's going to go 8-4 when nobody ever says anything. Yeah, this is sort of this is Deion Sanders' version of that, and it's a little bit more personal with this one specific reporter, but this is what he does. So
he comes off when he played. He no doubt was prime time. Now he comes off as Coach Soft Time.
Yeah, it is a little soft to get so, because we also have the CBS thing, right, where he's not going to answer any questions from CBS or whatever. Yeah, it just comes off. It does come off a little bit soft, like a little bit. He's too sensitive to criticism for a 4-8 coach. And if Colorado goes out and goes 10-2 this year, then I think that Denver Post columnist is going to look pretty silly, right? For kind of teasing and being a little bit antagonistic towards the program. But guess what? I mean, that's what columnists all around the country who cover big time college athletics. That's the way they are. You just don't. Well, I mean, you do get your sunshine pumpers. Like, let's not pretend those don't exist. I think y'all might know a few of them, right? But it's obviously not uncommon for the local columnist to be a skeptic, to be a critic. And then eventually, when flowers are due, the flowers are given, right? And so I just don't know that Colorado's there yet to a point where they just deserve to be praised effusively. And it's kind of like if you are not 100% Team Deion Sanders and Team Colorado, and you are not effusive in your bending the knee to Colorado, then Deion Sanders is going to take an exception with that. And I think that's sort of the power trip that a lot of college football coaches get on, where they are just so used to nobody ever telling them no, everybody just agreeing with everything that they put out there, because you're just so afraid to cross the man who has that much power. But ultimately, when he's not signing your checks and he doesn't sign the columnist of the Denver Post checks, I think you're free from some of that. But it can be a shock when you're a coach because, I don't have control over this person. Well, let me find some way in which I do. Okay, you can't ask me questions. There we go. Now I have control over your situation. And at the end of the day, though, as a columnist, you don't really have to ask questions to get content to do your writing because it's your opinion, it's your take, it's your view on things. And so it's not really going to stop this guy from what Deion's trying to accomplish here. But yeah, the week one opener, I totally understand why Deion Sanders doesn't love it. And if I were him, I'd be upset that I'd be really upset with the first 2 years of scheduling that he walked into because last year's schedule was brutal, this year's schedule is brutal. And it's going to make it tough for Colorado to make a lot of progress.
Dave, that was so well said and so well thought out. And you're right, because those coaches, very similar to a lot of politicians, they expect supplication. Mm-hmm. They expect for us to nod and say amen with everything they say. And then when some of us disagree and differ, then we're described as haters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's and they're so used to to everyone in their domain loving and worshiping everything they do and say. And then when somebody doesn't, because most of the media out there in Colorado,
and you just point out their record.
Yeah, yeah, right, exactly. So, I'll point out, like in Knoxville, it's John Adams, right? Like he's been the columnist there forever at the Knoxville News Sentinel. Well, he's annoyed now 6 different Tennessee head football coaches over the course of his career, but he's the only one in the market who will actually give you a critical, honest, sometimes a little bit hurtful assessment of the situation. And over the years, I think that's proved extremely valuable, because whereas every other media outlet on that beat tends to drink the Kool-Aid and go along with the preferred narrative of the staff or the administration, he set himself apart as somebody who will be a fair and honest critic throughout the tenure of a coach. And I think there's value in that if you're a fan, because I know a lot of times you want to drink the Kool-Aid, but man, sometimes there are yellow flashing caution lights that no one else is wanting to point out. And sometimes it's nice to have that voice in the room or that voice within the fan base that will actually point some of that stuff out. And you know what? It's not going to stop. It's not going to stop Sean Keeler from writing columns, and all the blowback on Deion is not going to stop Deion from being Deion. But it's just another chapter in this whole saga of Colorado football.
Yeah. Well, David, as always, thanks so much for joining us, and we'll talk to you again next Monday.
All right, guys. I appreciate it.
Thanks.
Enjoy.
David Cobb joining us from CBS Sports, talk some college football and college basketball, and definitely a lot of excitement for this slate this weekend.
Brian, I've heard some almost make a call of unity for the media that covers Colorado. Some have suggested maybe through the Colorado Broadcasters Association or the Football Writers Association that they band together, and if he's not allowed, nobody asks a question. Do you think that happens?
No, there's no way that happens, because those people from other stations, networks, newspapers, they at the end of the day they're trying to get their job done.
Yeah.
I did really like what the Denver Post, they put out, their senior sports editor put out right after this was happening. He basically said in a tweet, and maybe there was a story connected to it, but basically said, look, if that's what Deion wants, that's his right, and we're fine by that. But don't say it's because whatever you said. Just say it's because you don't like him.
That's right.
Because what he said was complete opinion, and that's his job to put out his opinion. He's the columnist, and so just say you don't like him and you don't like what he says about you.
And the fact that he has it in contractual terms,
right.
he can have in contractual terms that we're supposed to go in there and all bow down to him. That doesn't mean we're going to do it.
Sure. Yes. So I did think the Denver Post handled it extremely well. I would not have handled it that well. But yeah, I'm
a little sad to see a lack of more solidarity for him. I even saw this morning on Hot Take TV a roundtable of sorts, and some were going, well, who is this guy? Well, I don't know who this columnist. Well, it doesn't matter who he is.
Right.
You should stand. You should stand and support him regardless of who he or she is.
No, absolutely. I mean, he's a columnist, in that market, and I'm sure very well respected in that market. So who cares if you know him or not? It's put yourself in those shoes, and
but you can forget a whole lot of solidarity.
No. Yes, at the end of the day, those people they got their jobs to do. They're going
dog
to do their
eat dog.
Exactly. But it is a very another weird story out of Colorado. But let's go ahead and get to a break. When we come back, a busy weekend in Major League Baseball. We've already got a couple finals today in the books. So let's get to a break. When we come back, we'll talk Major League Baseball.
Be sure to follow us at Sports56 WHBQ on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube to watch live video of our shows, stay up to date with station events, and have chances to win prizes. Don't miss out on anything that's going on. Follow us at Sports56 WHBQ.
Chris Bryce here for Brian Elder Roofing. For nearly 2 decades, we have installed some of the best roof systems across the Mid-South. To the tens of thousands of clients we've served, we are honored. So many of you call our team at Brian Elder Roofing your roofers. Our team is dedicated to serving you and keeping your family safe, dry, and mold-free. The recent hailstorms have caused massive damage, and many of these will go unnoticed for years, even though the golf ball-sized hail we just experienced in the Mid-South compromises even the best-built roof system. Whether we find damage or not, your photos are securely stored for future reference. Call Brian Elder Roofing today for a total evaluation of your entire roof system free. We will not try to sell you a roof if all you need is a repair. Call me at 901-867-0303. That's 901-867-0303. Or visit us online at brianelderroofing.com.
867-0303. Brian Elder's Roofing Solutions.
All 650 acquisition fee, $20,000 per year, 20 cents excess mileage, Forte RE794066, MSRP 21820, Telluride RG543666, MSRP 39835, EV9 R602 29603, MSRP 61035. Lease terms include all rebates and incentives and a PF 695, includes tax, title, license, registration, and fees. Must finance through Hyundai with approved credit, valid through 8/31/24, dealer stock only.
Hey, yo, Jeff Allen, what's up over there at Gossett Kia South Mount Moriah?
I know what's down, Randy. Prices at Gossett Kia Mount Moriah. You looking to save? 41 MPG Highway in a 2024 Kia Forte LXS, $199 a month, $37.99 due at signing. I've got a 2024 Kia Telluride S front-wheel drive, $379 per month, $39.99 due at signing. And Randy, talk about saving big bucks. 304 EPA estimate range for $389 a month in a 2024 Kia EV9 Lite, $49.99 due at signing, all 24-month lease.
Plus the 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain limited warranty.
So whether you live in Horn Lake, South Haven, Olive Branch, or Memphis, you'll be happy at Gossett Kia on Mount Moriah.
Hi, it's The Herd. Whether you shower in the morning or at night, chances are you want to hop in right away instead of standing and waiting while your water heats up. My friends at Navien have your solution. Go tankless with a new Navien tankless water heater. You'll instantly get all the hot water you need as long as you need it. Right now, save hundreds on Navien tankless water heaters with local rebates. It's easy. Visit tanklessmadesimple.com. That's tanklessmadesimple.com.
We're here with David Cooper, Vice President of Genesis Diamonds. David, we're familiar with iconic brands. Are there designers for engagement rings?
Absolutely. Like every other industry, there are 10 renowned bridal designers who have been leading the industry for years. They're trusted, respected, and exclusive. Every jewelry store wishes to help.
So what makes these designer engagement rings so desirable?
These designers drive a surge of customers to the store, making it the place to be. They attract shoppers who value quality, sophistication, and the ability to express their individuality.
Customers find these engagement rings in other stores?
Absolutely. Other stores would love to have them, but they have to sell for what they can get, not what they wish to have.
So Genesis is cornered the market.
Certainly. World-class exclusive selection from $1,900 complete rings to $250,000 silver rings. Pressed by designers of the world create these one-of-a-kind rings specifically to showcase
Genesis Diamonds. Popular in markets and
Sports 56 traffic.
Good afternoon. A couple of racks still in their clearing stages out here. It's moving in the construction zone fairly decent as we check it out live. 55 north and southbound between McLemore South Parkway. It's trying to get busy at times on 240 east here at Mill Branch. Hit it on out to Billmore's Parkway 385. Looks pretty good. Actually, clear shot as you head on out into Collierville. Weimer's Jewelry right here in the Memphis area specializes in bridal ring purchases, and they have since 1984. Shop local, save a lot of money at Weimer's Jewelry on Highway 64. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Welcome back into Sports Time. Bryant and Brett with you in our Family Leisure Studios. I know we've talked a whole lot of college football today, but we got to talk some Major League Baseball. Really busy weekend in the world of Major League Baseball.
It sure was, and thank you to everyone that's alerting us. We know we had a big power surge at about 3:31, and it has reset some stuff. We know sometimes during the break some of our conversations have been going out. Thankfully, nothing untoward has gone out. First of all, Brian and Darian never, ever curse, and I've been on alert not to.
That's right.
So, but we thank everyone that's alerted of us, and we're getting Stephen, our engineer, to try to reset things from the power surge that was pretty – it was a pretty good one.
It sure was.
It got all three hairs on my head to stand up when we went through the headphones.
Yes, no, it was a big one, and so we're trying to work on that. But yes, thank you for
thank you
everyone alerting us
to all the heads up.
Yes, because I would have no idea it was even happening. But yes, the great listeners.
We've been trying to subscribe to the if there's a microphone, leave the language in the parking lot.
Yes, I think we're pretty good with that. For the most part. But yeah, Major League Baseball over the weekend, very interesting. A good weekend for the Cardinals if you're still paying attention to them, I guess. But I'm not. I didn't watch a single game.
65 and 65, 32 left.
500 ball, okay.
What do they have to go to be the sixth seed, to be the last wild card out of that 32 games?
They got to do a lot of winning. That's all I'll say.
How much?
A lot. I don't know. I don't know an exact number. A lot.
What would the last one squeeze in at?
I have no clue.
They got to go 22-10, and there's just there's no scenario of that.
There's no way at all that they go 20-10.
21-11 gets you 86. Would that squeeze in? It could. They're not doing that.
I guess it could, but I doubt it. I don't know. I mean, the season feels over. It doesn't feel like we're playing for anything, and so I watched baseball over the weekend. Just want the Cardinals, and it's just
same.
turned into that year.
And we're going to talk baseball, and I'm very excited about it. I think the best time of the year after Labor Day. It's the best part of the baseball season. The end of the summertime holidays, really, going down the stretch here. Maybe not the excitement we used to have when we had the limited number of teams in the playoffs. For a lot of my life, just two, and you went right to the LCS. But we still have some intrigue and some seeding intrigue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, I think there's a lot of intrigue with Major League Baseball, and we've talked about it all year. Just the great storylines that are going on, and you look at what Aaron Judge is doing over in New York, and there's a lot of good things in Major League Baseball, and so the fact that the Cardinals are not really in that mix anymore. I still think it's a great time to watch Major League Baseball. I think there's great races for the postseason.
Milwaukee could end up being the 1 seed in the National League.
How about that? Which would be insane. And we've kind of talked about them all year. It doesn't feel like they're this overly dominant, powerful team. They're a fun team. I enjoy watching them play, but no, I wouldn't say they're a team that is number one in the whole NL. It's crazy.
No, and the Dodgers will probably end up being the 1 seed out of the National League, and you can count on every night they're at home. And why would you not? 52,000 every night to go see the Shohei kid.
Yeah, I mean, Shohei has been unbelievable, and I think there was a lot of questions of what he would look like with the Dodgers, and now just batting and with that coming off that injury, and he's looked unbelievable, and he's looked so good that there have been people questioning should he pitch when he comes back or when he's fully healthy, or should they just leave him at the bat, and so he's been great for the Dodgers.
What would you do? I would pitch him after he got good and well.
Yeah, I probably would too, just because of everything you're paying him.
Pitch and DH?
Yeah, but I like him a lot more as a bat than I do as an arm. You could tell me.
But his stuff was pretty good.
It was pretty good. I didn't like him in the starting role, but I think if you told me today he'll never pitch again, I would have said cool, and it wouldn't bother me one way or the other if he never pitches again.
trust me, I wasn't around for it. But about 100 years ago, right now,
Sure.
they got to that point with Babe Ruth. They said, to heck with his pitching. You just go up there and swing at big lumber.
Yeah, oh yeah, and you know, we all talk about the legend of Babe Ruth now, and so, you know, maybe we see the same thing with Shohei, and who knows, you know, maybe, I think it's all going to be a feel-out thing, like, you know, if he gets fine and they put him in there, and
Boy,
they
there's
start
one to
throwing
compare him to.
Well, yeah, I mean,
I heard the guys on WHBQ
right.
compared him to Babe Ruth.
Well,
yeah.
but that's only been happening to Shohei ever since he started with the Angels. So, you know, we're doing nothing new. But, you know, maybe he comes back and says he can start pitching and they get him in that rotation, and down the road he just doesn't fit in. And, you know, whatever happens, who knows? But I think they're in a good spot right now where if you just have him as a bat, I think you feel really good. If you have him hitting and pitching, I think you also feel good.
Who takes the last National League wild card?
I still think the Braves are going to find a way to stay in there.
I don't, Brian. It's just too much.
I agree with you. I'm just kind of trying to be different here, I guess.
They can't take in anymore. I think it's the Mets.
Yeah.
And I said a while back, I thought Arizona, San Diego, and the Mets would be the wild cards. Nobody's catching a division leader.
No. Those are wrapped up. I mean, those three teams have played so well, and they just continue to win. And you know, you look at the Dodgers and the Braves; they're both 7-3 in their last 10, and the Phillies are 6-4. You know, so you know everybody, all three of those teams, kind of different than what we were talking about with like the Yankees. Of the Yankees, it kind of felt like at times maybe they were taking their foot off the gas, and you know, we're kind of struggling. But in the NL, those teams just keep winning.
Long day of baseball in Cleveland, and the Royals took the first game of the doubleheader today, 4-3. And we now, after Cleveland leading all year, that this is a very big game tonight and critical series early this week.
No, you're absolutely right. And that first game just ended. I think it was 4-3 was the final score of that one. And I say, you know, take the Royals in that second game as well. The Guardians, I saw this stat earlier. They're like 1-13 in doubleheader games this year. And now I think it makes them 1-14 in doubleheader games this year. So, you know, they lose the first one, good chance they also, I know it's kind of usually the opposite. If one team loses in the first game, you take them in the second game. But, you know, maybe take the Royals. But both those teams have been really impressive this season. You know, I think two teams that, I think maybe the Royals had more expectations than the Guardians just because, you know, you knew you had some of those young stars, Bobby Witt and a couple other guys that you could rely on. The Guardians, I don't think many people had high expectations for them, and they've come out here and just played really, really solid and have, you know, turned it into an unbelievable season.
Brian, it's hit me over the last 2 weeks to a month, even a month, stretching out, you know, to that Sonny Gray has really helped the Cardinals. He has. And he is the ace of this staff.
Yeah.
He's never an ace of a championship team.
No. And
he might not, on a really good staff that goes to the World Series, he might not even be the two.
Yeah, no, I mean, you're probably right. I saw a tweet over the weekend that was like, yeah, Sonny Gray might be an ace, but he's not an ace on a playoff team or something like that, you know? And I think that just
it was like when the Grizzlies had Pau Gasol.
Yeah.
You're going nowhere with him, your star.
Sure. And so I think it shows you where this pitching rotation is for the Cardinals right now. It's not very good. And we thought at the beginning of the season maybe they made improvements, but they're just not a very good unit.
It's all on the margins. It's not a lot of meat to it. And last week, the Cardinals had the indignity, I guess. It was a good long run, but from the opening of New Busch Stadium in 2006, last week, the first publicly reported crowd for, and not for one of these makeup games and not for COVID, but for a real game under 30,000 people, and it's going to be sparse tonight for the Padres.
Yeah, no, I think you're gonna see a lot of that. I mean, it's what we saw last year, but even more because last year was the first year of it. Team was not playing really well, but you had young guys that this is the future. You were selling it of come watch Mason Wynn, come watch Jordan Walker. These are the guys that are going to turn it around next year, and now you've got. Mason Wynn's been great this year, but Jordan Walker's still here at AAA, and it's another bad season, and so you're just going to see
they've about royally messed that up.
I mean, it's been pathetic, honestly, just to watch how he's been handled. But yeah, you're going to see just fewer and fewer good crowds, and I think for good reason.
And a time of year that a lot of markets check out at this time, back to school.
Definitely.
And the season's taking a toll on people. It never happened at New Busch Stadium, but everything ends.
Yep, and now we're seeing it. And, so I think a lot of changes need to come this offseason for the St. Louis Cardinals, both with that roster and with that front office, because right now the way it's going, it's not fun to watch, and they are not doing anything successful. But we'll see if those changes do come. Not a huge slate tonight in Major League Baseball, but some good games. Had a couple doubleheaders, like Brett said, so it should be a good night of baseball. But let's get to another break, and when we come back, it will be time for Big Number of the Day.
We are real sports talk. Sports 56 WHBQ. Available on your radio dial at 560 AM and 98.5 FM, as well as around the world online at sports56whbq.com. Take us with you everywhere by downloading the Sports 56 app. And at home, just say, Alexa, play Sports 56. Wherever you are, stay tuned in to real sports talk. Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
I think a lot about golf, and when I think golf, I think Miramichi. Did you know Miramichi Golf Course offers membership? It's a great way to play more golf for less out of pocket. Their memberships run for $300 a month plus tax, and that includes unlimited rounds and range balls, no extra card fees, priority tee time booking, and discounts in the pro shop. Oh, by the way, there's no initiation fee. Miramichi green fees, they'll allow you to choose the right rate at the right time on the right day for your needs. If morning tee times are more important, you can book up to 14 days ahead of time to reserve your spot. If rate is more important to you, there are discounted evening rates available that you can choose from. You'll find the lowest rates on Tuesday through Thursday afternoons. Sometimes you just need to escape the hustle and bustle of life. Miramichi Golf Course provides just the right place to solve that need. The name Miramichi means place of happy retreat. When you need a quiet, peaceful round of golf, please make your way to Miramichi.
Nestled in the heart of East Memphis, located corner of Park and Cherry, is a beautiful residential neighborhood. I'm here at Town Village Audubon Park interviewing a new resident, Carolyn. Share with us why you chose Town Village.
Well, if your parents or special friends need to make that big move, let me share with you my experience. It was tough for me to leave home, but then I discovered Town Village. I would like to highly recommend Town Village to you and your loved ones. After looking at all the amenities and meeting all the people and staff, I was hooked. From restaurant, bistro, 3 meals per day, housekeeping, transportation, security, health care, physical therapy, exercise room, and even a heated pool and spa. Come see us and make your new home in Town Village.
Visit us and call Daniel at Town Village Audubon Park at 901-374-7342. There's no place like home, Town Village.
Family Leisure is having the world's biggest spa sale. It's happening right now. You can save thousands on in-stock hot tubs that are ready to be delivered. Family Leisure has spas that start at just $28.99. You know those cold plunges? You can get one for yourself starting at $39.99. Or how about swim spas? They start at $17,499. Plus, Family Leisure has set up special financing just for this event. Have you been sitting on the fence about an above-ground pool? Get off that fence and get to Family Leisure to take advantage of huge discounts on all their in-stock above-ground pools. And if you need some patio furniture, it's all priced to move out now. It's not too late to have some summer fun, courtesy of Family Leisure. But you better hurry up. The world's biggest spa sale might go on forever. Family Leisure, with and run at I-40. Family and fun come together.
Looking for sports in all the wrong places? Try the Owner's Box Sports Bar and Grill in Lakeland Town Square. Fun, friendly, exciting, and comfortable with wall-to-wall TVs for all your favorite games, 24 taps for all your favorite beers, including NA and local craft beers, and an in-front-of-the-wall full bar for all your other favorite beverages, including a full wine list. And in an upscale menu, patio seating, daily specials, and events, and you found all your sports in the one right place. The Owner's Box Sports Bar and Grill in Lakeland Town Square, Highway 70.
Moving is stressful, but Black Tie Moving can take the worry out of the process. Whether you're moving across town or across country, moving your home or your office, your personal moving concierge from Black Tie Moving will work with you to design a plan that perfectly fits your budget and needs. And they're available 24/7 to answer any questions you have. Give Black Tie Moving a call at 901-316-6196 or go to blacktiemoving.com/Memphis to get your personal, no-obligation quote from the moving experts at Black Tie Moving.
Calling all Memphis Tiger fans, the Liza's Light University of Memphis Soccer and Track Stadium Fund needs your support. In memory of Liza Fletcher, we're building a state-of-the-art stadium to provide our student athletes with the top-notch facilities they deserve. Help us reach our Phase 1 goal of $7 million and make a true impact for this community. Let your light shine. Visit lizaslight.org and donate now.
Sportstime on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Here once again are Brett Norsworthy and Brian Davis.
Welcome back into Sports Time. Brian and Brett with you. We got to talk about our big number of the day. It's time for big number of the day. And before we get to big number of the day, I want to thank everybody again for texting in, letting us know. I think we have the issue figured out now. Again, like Brett said earlier, we had a power surge in the building. And epic. And I thought everything was fine. Turns out it was not fine. So we definitely appreciate.
Almost short-circuited my brain, which doesn't take an epic power surge to do.
So we appreciate the listeners for letting us know.
A lot of friendly engineers out there, wasn't it?
Yes, because honestly, here, it didn't feel like there was anything wrong. And so we definitely appreciate you, the listener, for letting us know. But let's go ahead and get to big number of the day.
Big Daddy.
Hello, Big Brand. It's a guy, he wants to be big, then he gets big, he doesn't want to be big anymore, then he gets small, but the suit's too big.
Big Daddy.
The big boy.
You're a big guy. I think she's trying to pull a fast one on Big Daddy.
The big number of the day.
Well, I have two big numbers today. The first one is the number 100, and it's very simple. It's a team that has produced a lot of big numbers this year. It's the Chicago White Sox. They lost number 100 over the weekend. They became the fastest team to lose 100 games since 1916, which is quite the accomplishment for the Chicago White Sox. And then my second big number is 24 million. So we had 100 and then 24 million. So two really big numbers, I think. A lot of people have been talking today about Aaron Judge and what he did over the weekend, hitting home runs number 50 and 51 of the season. He became the fifth player to ever hit 50 or more home runs in 3 separate seasons, joining Babe Ruth, Mark McGwire, Sammy Sosa, and Alex Rodriguez, which is quite impressive. Now, you might be asking, that's a great tidbit, it's a great stat. Where does the 24 million come in? Comes with that guy, Babe Ruth, that we were just talking about. His called shot jersey sold at an auction this weekend for
against the Cubs.
$24 million. That is incredible.
If you had that kind of money, well, it's almost hard. It's impossible to answer. Would you spend on something like that? I mean, we don't have that kind of money, and you could think you could say sometimes we shouldn't spend what we do on things. But not like that. Not $24 million.
I don't know. That would be pretty cool to have.
It would be.
I don't know.
But boy, you better really like your memorabilia room.
That's true. But I mean, if you got $24 million just to be throwing down on a jersey like that, I'm pretty sure you got enough money. That's it's probably pennies to you.
The call shot off Charlie Root in the World Series at Wrigley.
Yeah.
And it's the Mona Lisa, and
Of
it was
course.
described as that in the memorabilia world.
Yeah, no. So I mean, big money for sure. Money I
Can the
couldn't even
economy
dream of.
be too bad if we got anybody out there that can spend $24 million on a jersey last worn in the 1932 World Series?
It's another good question by you, Brett. I don't know. That's certainly big money for sure.
But the economy's only bad in the world you live in. You know, the old saying, it's a recession. If my neighbor loses his job, it's a depression when I lose my job.
That's right. Yeah.
So everything's relative.
Oh yeah, no, it absolutely is. But yeah, that shocked me over the weekend. That it was
My big
sold for
number
that much.
is 38. Saturday at Simmons Bank Liberty Stadium, Seth Hennigan will have his 4th uniform number in 4 years. He will wear number 9 this year. He wore number 4 as a frosh, 5 as a sophomore. Last year he wore number 2. This year will be number 9. But 38 Saturday will be his 38th game played as a Memphis Tiger. You add in this year another 12 to 13, so get around 50, 51 games or so if he stays healthy and plays in all those games. Brian, we may never see another Tiger basketball player play in 51 games as a Tiger.
Yeah, you might be right. It's definitely getting fewer and fewer.
We won't see many.
No. I mean, the number of guys that stay around that long has really dwindled, and so for it to be in college football is massive. I mean, you look at all the big-time quarterbacks that people have been talking about in the preseason, and most of them are guys that are at second or third stop. You know, you think about Dylan Gabriel, who's getting a lot of hype as maybe the preseason
Even
Heisman
Jackson
favorite.
Dart.
Jackson Dart, you know, we just saw DJU over the weekend against Georgia Tech. You know, he's on his 3rd start. You know, to be able to have a guy that
Haynes King started A&M.
yeah, another good one. So I mean, to have a guy that's been in that program for so long, I mean that is huge for your team.
It does, and it's why I have been so very bullish. And this week, as we will make Tiger and Ole Miss predictions on Friday at 3:45 after we have Alan Bell on, and then we will have our college football bracket, our final one that we will predict on at 4:30 on Friday. And I mean, combined between the Tigers and Ole Miss, I have a loss, one combined.
It's incredible. Calling your shot for sure. That's pretty good. I'm looking forward to Friday now.
Now, I didn't think Georgia Tech would do what they did, and now the
Not many people
catching FSU by surprise is not going to happen. But all summer, I said Seth Hennigan's better than DJU. I thought Haynes King was better than DJU. I think Castellanos at BC is better than DJU.
Yeah, no, and I was texting with one of my best friends over the weekend. And it was kind of like the DJU hype far exceeds actual
Always did.
DJ Uiagalelei.
It always did. At Clemson, it did. Last year at Oregon State, it did. And at Clemson, he was hurt by, and this is another of a real achievement by the Tiger football program to string this many really distinguished quarterbacks in a row together. At Clemson, it finally had to run out. If you go Taj Boyd, Deshaun Watson, Trevor Lawrence, you got to throw a shoe somewhere in there, don't you?
You got to. I mean, it's hard to even fathom.
And I didn't mean to rhyme, throw a shoe with
There you
DJU.
go. How about that? But no, you know, and so you saw all of the, you know, DJU ranked higher than CJ Stroud and Bryce Young and all that stuff. And so I kind of feel bad for him. Like, you know, this is a guy that's on his 3rd stop. He can't catch a break. But at the same time, you know, that hype he gets every single offseason at every different stop, it's, you know, DJ's going to be the guy. You know, this is his time, and it just never feels like it is. So that was definitely a loss that, you know, that game isn't as big as it might now be, you know, would have been with Florida State undefeated, Memphis undefeated, Florida State a top, you know, 6 team probably at that point. But it's still going to be a really big game for the Tigers. And with that being said, we need to wrap up this hour and get to a break. And when we come back, Jonah Dillon, the Tiger football beat reporter for the Commercial Appeal, he joins us to talk Tiger football, talk about what he thought about DJ Jeez, DJU. I'm just calling him that. I mean, I said with DJU and with Nico, I was going to listen to him the first couple of days, and I was going to have him. I had DJU all day on Saturday, Sunday, and today. Now I get in front of Mike, can't say his name. So it's DJU from now on. Sorry. We'll talk about him. We'll talk about Florida State, that game here in a couple of weeks. But more importantly, depth chart came out today for the Tigers, so we'll have to talk about that a ton. What Jonah thought of that initial depth chart. We'll do all of that next on Sports Time.
Welcome to the Rendezvous.
This is John Vergas. When my dad started the Rendezvous in 1948, I don't think anyone could have imagined we'd still be serving shoulder, cheese plates, and our world-famous dry rub ribs 75 years later. But we are still here in the basement, in an alley in downtown Memphis. We sincerely thank you for making the Rendezvous what it is today. Charlie Vergas Rendezvous, a legendary experience for over 75 years, whether you dine in, pick up, or ship across the country.
Locally owned and operated for over 40 years, Automatic Gates Construction tailors custom gate solutions for all your residential, commercial, and industrial needs, including repairs, maintenance, and installation. Automatic Gates Construction specializes in designing and installing automatic gates and fencing that seamlessly blends security, functionality, and aesthetic appeal. Elevate the safety and efficiency of your property with a premium gate solution. Automatic Gates Construction at myautomaticgates.com.
You or someone you know or care about has dealt with a difficult divorce. When facing divorce, you need the attorneys at Rice Law. Nick and Larry Rice lead the firm with 3 generations and 7 decades of experience. Located in Memphis, serving the entire state of Tennessee and North Mississippi. Rice Law is who you need to call. Simple or difficult divorce, they know how to handle it. Call Rice Law at 901-526-6701, or for more information, visit them at aboutdivorce.com. That's aboutdivorce.com.
Rick's Powder Coating for a beautiful finish every time. Rick's Powder Coating specializes in automotive, ornamental, residential, and industrial coating. With 2 conveyor lines and the largest batch ovens in the Mid-South, Rick's can accommodate all of your powder coating needs. Locally owned and operated since 2002, Rick's Powder Coating will customize a beautiful finish just for you. Drop by or call to see how Rick's Powder Coating can bring color to your life. 901-367-2771 or rickspowdercoating.com.
Were you uninvited to game night? Do you play board games with the ferocious intensity of an iron-fisted oligarch? Have friends left game night asking, how do you sleep at night? Then you should get a mattress from Mattress Firm. They can help anyone sleep. Head to Mattress Firm's best sale of the year, the Labor Day sale. Save up to $700 on select Tempur-Pedic adjustable mattress sets and get a $300 instant gift. Get matched at Mattress Firm. Sleep at night. Restrictions apply. See store or website for details.
The Mitsubishi Final Days of Summer sales event is going strong at Gossett Mitsubishi on the Pike. So come get bang for your buck with 420 total range and 64 combined MPGE in 2024 Mitsubishi Outlander PHEV. We Gossett 34,770 or $299.98 a month. And check out 2024 Mitsubishi Eclipse Cross. We Gossett at $27,245 or $349 a month. Plus, you'll never go wrong with Mitsubishi's 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain limited warranty. Get to Gossett Mitsubishi today at 1870 Covington Pike and 24/7 at MemphisMitsubishi.com. That's Gossett Mitsubishi on the Pike.
If you want it, we got it at Gossett Motor Cars.
RZO 35,297, MSRP 47,470, 36-month, 30,000-mile lease, 44.53 due at signing, 1,095 acquisition fee, 25 cents per mile excess wear and tear. Eclipse RZO 65,450, MSRP 28,745, includes all rebates and incentives, PF 695, excludes tax title and license with approved credit. See dealer for complete details. Offer valid through end of the month. Dealer stock only.
We are Sports 56, WHBQ Memphis, and W253DF Memphis. Flynn Broadcasting Stations. Oh, yeah. Now back to Sports Time on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Here once again are Brett Norsworthy and Brian Davis.
Welcome back into Sports Time. Bryant and Brett with you in our Family Leisure Studios, and joining us now on our Sissy's Log Cabin guest line, Jonah Dillon, the Tiger football beat writer at the Commercial Appeal. He joins us. It's finally game week, Jonah. First off, thanks so much for joining us. Second, a busy day for you. You've just been pumping out content over at the Commercial Appeal. You had a feature story earlier today. Then we got depth charts. You talked to Ryan Silverfield earlier today as well. From between the depth chart and your conversation at the press conference with Ryan Silverfield, what has been your biggest takeaway from today?
Yeah, well, I'm just catching my breath, like you said. It's been quite a day. Yeah, I mean, I would say on the depth chart, not too many huge surprises. I think Chris Adams winning the left tackle job ahead of Jalen Nichols, definitely a little bit of a surprise because Jalen Nichols is somebody who at one point was slated to be the starting left tackle at South Carolina. Yeah. And Chris Adams obviously comes in the spring, and even during fall practices, the coaches have kind of talked about getting him up to speed, and we weren't sure if he was going to be there with only, a couple months under his belt here. But he's somebody they're obviously very excited about, and that's a big one. And obviously the depth, which is something Ryan Silverfield has talked about on the offensive line. And then a couple of, obviously Reggie Grimes is a name that was missing on the defensive side of the depth chart, and Ryan Silverfield addressed that as well. But it's there weren't any huge surprises, and obviously we knew most of the starters, especially on offense, we knew who the names to look out for were. So, yeah, there's a lot in there. And then the other thing we have to mention is Cortland Marsh. Ryan Silverfield saying that he's likely out for the season, or at least the regular season. And it's kind of hard to explain these things because it's somebody who was projected to potentially be a starter. Obviously, we look at the depth chart; he's not on there. So if you haven't been following it super closely, it would kind of be like, okay, somebody's out for the season. But he's someone they were really high on. Transfer from Stanford, had a really good year last season, and the defensive backfield is going to be a storyline. He would have been certainly in the mix and likely being a starter. So that is a pretty big loss, and then we'll obviously see who can fill that.
Around this team, last year famously in a 59-50 game, that was a win, and that made everything right. I don't think they're going to be in many of those games this year. Do you, Jonah?
It's tough to say. I mean, I think that they could score that many points, right? So the question is,
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah, can you play defense at a higher level? I would certainly expect it. I think that, especially in the secondary, it's going to be prove it for a lot of those guys. Now, there's a lot of names that are different. You look at the cornerbacks. Kobe Minor, obviously, is a transfer, came in the spring. And Davion Ross played basically one game last season. So you're basically looking at new cornerbacks, and that's going to be a huge storyline in terms of making sure they can improve off of what happened last year. I wouldn't expect those types of games, but I think you could see high scores because this is something that was talked about last season by Matt Barnes a lot, who was the defensive coordinator. There's a lot of offenses in this conference that are pretty high-powered, and to be honest, there's not a lot of great defenses. It's just one of those conferences. You go play teams like USF, and you're going to expect them to put up points. Even the North Texases, the UABs, those teams can put up points. They have defensive problems, but you're not going to just cruise through these games and shut teams out. So I think the scoreboards, hopefully for Memphis, they won't be as high, but I would expect a couple games that are kind of shootouts going into the season.
Yeah. Going back to the depth chart, something that I noticed, and I saw some other people on social media noticing it as well, when you look at the running backs, Sutton Smith listed as the first running back. Now, there is an or beside his name, and then right behind it is Mario Anderson, but Sutton Smith is the first name in the running backs. Is that anything to take away from that? What did Ryan Silverfield have to say about that decision?
Yeah, so I notice this every year. Every year when there's that day that all the depth charts come out, the word that's probably trending the most on social media is or.
That's right.
Right, because every single team is doing this. There's actually less ors, I think, than usual on this depth chart.
Oh,
so
yeah.
we got to give him some credit for that. But yeah, I asked Ryan Silverfield that exact question because it is interesting. We've heard about Mario Anderson throughout the offseason. We know how excited people are about him coming as South Carolina's leading rusher. But Sutton Smith is somebody who they're very excited about going to last season. We were talking about Sutton Smith potentially being a top running back. Obviously, Blake Watson played really well, and there's no reason why he shouldn't have had that spot. But Sutton Smith, throughout this offseason, I talked to him earlier during fall camp, and he talked about how he's kind of worked on specific things. He's improved. He's really focused on kick returning and being a more versatile player, which in some sense means he could play at the same time as Mario Anderson. Like Ryan Silverfield, his answer to that question was talking about in the past how Memphis has played multiple running backs together. When you talk about the Patrick Taylors and the Kenny Gainwells and Antonio Gibson, who sort of played running back a little bit. And I think we could see some of that. I think both guys are going to be involved, but I think the kind of eye-opening thing is this is not going to be Mario Anderson is the starter, plays every snap, and then Sutton Smith only comes in when he needs the flow. Like, both guys are definitely going to be involved, especially at the beginning of the season.
Jonah, off this depth chart and players that people are counting on, this is a toughie. Give me someone that was really good last year, but they need to be even better this year.
Okay, you put me on the spot. You're always putting me on the spot with that kind of thing. I think, to me, I'll give you two because I can't pick one. I'm going to say it's between Kobe Drake and Demir Blankenship. Both those guys were good last year in the roles that they played. We know how good Rock Taylor is. Now, Rock Taylor's story this offseason is more about how do you approach following up on what was a breakout season. But Rock Taylor is going to be this team's top receiver. They're going to do different things with him, and opposing defenses are going to pay more attention to him, certainly at the beginning of the season than they did last year. So you look at Kobe Drake and Demir Blankenship, those are the two other starting receivers. Those guys are proven because behind them on the depth chart, there's a lot of guys they're excited about, but there's nobody there who's been proven for Memphis. So you don't really know what you have until those guys get on the field. And so if Kobe Drake and Demir Blankenship can play at a high level and make defenses pay attention to them and not just key in on Rock Taylor, then you're really going to have a difficult time defending against this offense because of obviously what Seth Hennigan can do. And so I think those guys taking the next step is really the thing that will unlock this whole offense.
How much around the building today and in Tiger World that you're very plugged into has the conversation been about that FSU performance?
Yeah, I think there wasn't a ton of conversation about it, but I know that people are the response that I'm seeing the most is kind of just, man, it would have been cool if they were undefeated so that Memphis could go and have that opportunity to potentially beat a top 10 undefeated team, obviously on the road. Now, who knows what's going to happen by the end of the season, because I just think back to the Missouri game last season when Memphis played Missouri and both teams were unranked. And it was a close game. It was competitive, right? Missouri deserved to win, and they won in a close game. And if we had gone back and at that point of the season, Missouri was ranked number 8 or number 9 in the country, fans would have reacted to that completely differently. But at the time, they were just an unranked team. And then by the end of the year, it's like, wait a second, that was actually really impressive, that performance. And look, Florida State, they did not look good on Saturday. How are they going to look at the end of the season? Are they going to completely bottom out? Are they going to make the playoffs? Because both those things are possible. So it's hard to say, how that game is going to matter and the impact it's going to have on Memphis. But I think there's definitely, people are a little bit bummed out about just the stakes in the moment seem to have gone down a little bit.
For sure. No, and I get that. Like, it'd be cool to have that ranked team, preseason number 10, but, still a very tough game no matter what they are. On the road, in that environment, it's going to be tough. But when you watch that game on Saturday, Florida State and Georgia Tech, did anything jump out to you about maybe things that Memphis could exploit or things that would give Memphis trouble? What jumped out to you, if anything, in that Week 0 matchup?
Yeah, I was surprised by Florida State's performance in the trenches because that was where I thought they were going to kind of dominate the game. It looked like on that first drive that they were going to dominate the game, sort of. And then the rest of the game, it just didn't look like that. I mean, like Georgia Tech, obviously, Frank Key at the end run the ball, right? Like if they just beat them there. And that's one of those things when you look at it from a Memphis perspective, like going to play against an SEC team, you would expect to lose the physicality battle just because of the caliber of athletes those schools normally have. But that's based on what they showed on Saturday. I don't know if that's necessarily going to be the case, especially Memphis obviously brought in a lot of SEC transfers at some of those positions. So it definitely looks like a more winnable game now for Memphis than it did the other day. Obviously, like we said before, Memphis fans would like to be able to beat the best team possible. But there's going to be
some that already had it as a win, Jonah, don't you?
Oh, yeah, you've been clued on it for months. I'm going to remember that.
Got to. Brett's been on it for sure. We're talking to Jonah Dillon, the Tiger football beat writer for the Commercial Appeal. Jonah, we've had a couple texts, a couple calls about Cortland Marsh, the player that you were talking about earlier that could be out for the season, likely out for the season. Talk to us more about him and what this means for the secondary.
Yeah, so, I mean, like I was saying before, it is pretty big news, and I know it kind of goes under the radar because there's been so much today and there's so many things to talk about with the depth chart and with the season so close. But this is somebody who was projected to be a starter at safety, and safety is a position where Memphis needed to improve, and that's why they brought in a lot of transfers really across the secondary. And so to lose him is a big loss. Now, it's hard to tell exactly what that replacement level is because we never saw him play for Memphis yet. He could potentially have another year of eligibility. Ryan Schofield said today he's already talked to him about how he wants to come back next season. So potentially somebody who could help in the future, obviously, and he didn't totally close the door on him coming back towards the end of the season, but obviously it seems unlikely for somebody who hasn't played for this program is going to be able to gear up and play a significant role even by the end of the season, especially if Memphis is playing meaningful games at that point. So it is a bummer for Memphis and for the secondary, and it's something that we could definitely look back on depending on how this defense plays throughout the season and say, man, it would have been really nice to have that guy in the fold.
Is that the only one ruled out for the year?
Yeah, you got Javonte Mackey, who has been ruled out for a while. He was hurt back in the spring. And I think, again, that's another one where Javonte Mackey was really good last year for Arkansas State. And he was brought in to play a big role, right? Like one of the reasons that Elijah Herring came in the spring was because Javonte Mackey was out for the season and there was suddenly a big role that was available. And Javonte Mackey had a lot of options going in the portal after Arkansas State and towards ACL, so he's going to be out. And another one where next season he could come back and could be somebody to watch for sure.
Jonah, last Thursday we got information about kind of what things will look like from a fan experience at Simmons Bank Liberty Stadium. You wrote a little bit about what fans can expect, and then you were out there at Simmons Bank Liberty Stadium later that afternoon for the groundbreaking event. First off, what can fans expect? Because I know there's a lot of questions going into the season, whether it be parking or getting to seats, the concourse. What can they expect for the season, and what did you learn later that afternoon at the groundbreaking ceremony?
Yeah, so definitely there's a lot to know. I wrote an article last week, which you can definitely go check out, which is sort of here's what to know in terms of things like that, like parking, where can you walk in the stadium. I think a couple of takeaways is 100% the demolition of that stage is done, which means you don't need to worry about things falling from the sky when you're walking around the stadium, which I was getting questions about. So we'll just clear that up right there. You are allowed to walk. You do not need a hard hat to enter the stadium. It's important to note you're going to be able to walk around the whole stadium. So it's not like it's going to be totally closed off. And I think it won't be as jarring as I think it maybe seemed like at first. And especially being down there, what I noticed being down there on the field for that groundbreaking event, it's not like you're looking out directly into the parking lot from the field, which is kind of what it looks like when you see that sky view photo. Right. Like a player could just look in the parking lot. There's enough seats in that first lower level that you're looking up at that and you don't see nothing. Now, for us who are sitting in the press box or even people sitting high up on the other side, you do have a perfect view now of the Mid-South Coliseum, which I know some people are not exactly thrilled about.
That's the next wrecking ball.
Ryan Schofield said that he's considering putting you could use that as an advertising board now that everyone's going to be looking at it.
Do it for the NIL.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, so we got to be creative with it, and so that was one of my takeaways too. There's a lot to kind of get through.
Jonah, I don't know what the Tiger under Ryan Silverfield, I don't know what the record is for the participation, but could approach it Saturday. The Tiger's going to handle UNA, North Alabama, really, really easily, and just about everybody it dresses will play Saturday.
Yeah, and I think the one I would want to see is Harris Boyd, who's named the backup quarterback. Mm-hmm. And
everybody's favorite player with depth chart comes out, isn't it? Backup quarterback?
That is very true, and I was talking about this the other day with somebody. There was a point last season when fans were saying, what about that Tevin Carter guy? Why don't we put him in the game? So never forget that the backup quarterback is pretty much always the most popular player on the roster. It takes a lot to not be the most popular player on the roster. Like I said, that was happening last season, and Seth Hennigan is the all-time leading passer for this program, right? So that's something interesting. There was a competition that was going on pretty much the entire offseason throughout the spring and into summer with two other guys, Arrington Maiden and Cade Cunningham. And so Harris Boyd wins that. Now those three players have a combined 0 snaps in college football. So it is sort of important, right, to get somebody in there who's going to play and be available, because obviously the hope for everybody is that Seth Hennigan will play every meaningful snap for the Tigers this season. But somebody, if he does go down or is unavailable, somebody who's very unproven is going to play for him. And so if you're able to get Harris Boyd in to get a couple series and make some throws, I think that would be a positive for the whole coaching staff.
Yeah. Jonah, we talked about it earlier today on game day Saturday morning. Nick Saban gave Memphis a little shout. Well, I should say gave Memphis State a little bit of a shout out. We threw it out to the text line early and got a lot of texts back, some fine with it, some against it. Did you receive anything back from fans about whether they liked or did not
outrage
like Nick Saban calling Memphis Memphis State?
People seem to, there were some mixed reactions because on one hand it's like, well, Nick Saban was talking about Memphis on College Game Day, which is pretty good. Another one is like, wait a second, it's been a while since the University of Memphis was called Memphis State. So I don't know where that information came from. And the other thing to note, which is a strange one, is he made that comment, and then later in the show they all did their predictions for the 12-team playoffs.
Oh, switcheroo later.
Nick Saban did not take Memphis to go to the playoffs. Actually, none of the panelists did. So that was a surprising one because I remember seeing them when they get to Nick Saban and like, okay, well, cool, he's going to pick Memphis, and no. So I think for the most part, positive reaction just because it is important for Memphis to get mentioned on that kind of a stage, and that's the show that everybody's watching. And Nick Saban, everybody knows Nick Saban. So I think that most of it was positive, but definitely some people had some fun with it. You know, the Memphis State mention there.
Do you have enough information? Do you have a read on Jonah? Do you think it's generational? Do you think the old timers like me that fondly, very fondly remember those days, and then they wear those tribute basketball uniforms? I just don't get the rules on it. If I say it, it's bad, but if you say it, it's okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I think, to be honest, like you guys obviously know better than I do, but when you've got to talk about that many different teams, sometimes you just say something and you move on. You're not really thinking about it, right? It's in your head for whatever reason. Maybe he was watching Isaac Bruce highlights earlier that day, right? And Isaac Bruce was one of the people who responded to him. That's why he's popping up. But you never really know. And I think it wasn't like there was any ill will. So I think it was all in good fun, and I think people were happy just to see the mention.
Yeah. This Saturday against, Brett and I were talking about earlier today that it feels like probably at practice they've probably already moved on to the Troy game. It doesn't feel like this one should be a tough one on Saturday against North Alabama. And when you get into these games, it's kind of easy to say, oh, they're going to win by a lot. There's nothing to watch in this game. For you, we saw the depth charts today. What are some battles, what are some things kind of inside the game that you're going to be paying attention to that you think could point to what's to come later in the season?
Well, we talked about running backs. I think the split, who's out there first, who gets more carries, especially before the game, as we're expecting, is going to be out of reach at some point, when the game is still competitive. Last season, when Memphis started against Bethune-Cookman, which is sort of a similar FCS-level team, the beginning of the game was kind of shambolic. There were multiple turnovers that resulted in touchdowns, which is how we had that weird stat where the Memphis offense was allowing more points than the Memphis defense for a couple weeks. I think that they're hoping not to do that. I think eliminating turnovers is a big thing, and then seeing how that offensive line comes together, because you're looking at new players at every position, even though some of the same people have moved around. So that's a big one. And then, the running backs and how they can kind of make things happen. I think defensively, it's what does the defense look like? We have a sort of idea of scheme based on the depth chart, but we've heard from Jordan Hankins all offseason that this defense is going to change week to week, and it's going to be very dynamic in terms of what's going on during the game. And so that's going to be our first chance to just see how they line up and how things are changing throughout the game, whether or not they're doing well or being successful. We're going to get to see how they're kind of managing situations. And that's going to give us a hint on how they'll do that, when they're in more competitive games in the future.
Who's your 1, 2, and 3 in the AAC?
I had Memphis, Tulane, and UTSA. But I'm starting to. I will say I'm starting to believe, and if you look at my game by game predictions that came out this morning, I'm starting to believe in USF a little bit, in the sense that I think they're one of those teams that could beat anyone and they could lose to anyone. So because of the dynamic ability of Byron Brown and their offense, then we saw it in the 59-50 game. Defensively, they have problems. They might be improved this year, but I think when you have that kind of a quarterback and that kind of an offense, you're going to be able to compete, especially with these teams in this conference. You're going to be able to beat anybody. And so they're one of those teams that they could win these games against the top teams, and they could lose against some of the teams that you wouldn't expect them to be competitive with.
Yeah. Last thing for you, Jonah, you did a feature story earlier this morning about Colby Cox, the long snapper for the University of Memphis. What is something fans should know, something that will get them to read this story? I need to know the funnest fact about either long snapping or Colby Cox.
Okay, well, first of all, I was waiting for this the whole time because we've just talked about all this stuff, and I just want to make sure that the first story I did today with all of this was about long snapping.
Yeah.
And look, I didn't know anything. Look, I couldn't have told you anything about long snapping, and they've, for whatever reason, it's come up multiple times this offseason where coaches have said, this guy is really good, he could play in the NFL. And my question is, why, right? How, like, what makes him so good as a long snapper?
Sure.
Because you just assume, okay, you snap it and they put it down,
That's
right? Turns out he's an elite level long snapper. Ryan Silverfield actually mentioned it again today that he might play in the NFL.
I love it.
So also the ball rotates exactly 2.5 times from the time he has it in his hands to the time it gets to the holder. So
it's beautiful.
There's no way I could have told you that, and now I can. And that right there is journalism.
That's right.
And I'm proud to be a part of it. So I appreciate the question because I've been waiting for this the whole time.
And the snap, hold, and kick, those guys are besties. It's almost a club within the locker room among those guys.
Yeah, because they're just together all practice, right?
Yeah.
So they're even someone's just waiting to come on the field. But like they have a new punter and a new kicker, so chemistry is huge because they have a new holder, which I put in the story, and he'd never held before. So It's all about chemistry. So you just stand there, basically, the 3 or 6 or however many people are backups, just doing your own thing all practice while everybody else is, doing the plays and everything. And it's a really interesting dynamic. So there you go. I learned a lot, and the only thing I got to say, I would have assumed long snapping it's all in the arm. Turns out that's completely wrong. It's all about the hamstring. That's what he told me. So if you want to be a long snapper, work on your hamstring.
I love that.
And you watch the whole game, crouch down, looking back between your legs.
That's right.
Exactly.
That's great.
So, yeah.
Well, Jonah, I know a lot of people excited for the Tigers to kick things off on Saturday. Enjoy game number 1, and we'll talk to you again next Monday about what happened.
All right. Appreciate you guys.
Thanks, Jonah.
Thank you, Jonah. Have a great week. Jonah Dillon with us from the Commercial Appeal on all things Tigers. No matter what new Chevy or pre-owned car you're looking for, our friends at All-Star Chevrolet, they have it on the lot right now for you. And all this week until the end of this month, All-Star Chevy's end of summer sale going on right now. Together, let's drive what we really want to drive, and that's something from All-Star. First exit into Mississippi. That's Kraft Goodman Road on Highway 78. Come on down there and test drive 2 or 3 of these. If you can't find it at All-Star, you can't find it anywhere. There are at least 20 to 30 new Silverados marked down as much as 12% to save you thousands. Every Tahoe you could want for road trips and for tailgating, they have it. Law enforcement, healthcare workers, all first responders, college students, military, grads, you all get an instant extra $500 bonus back. And you can see all the pre-owned Ram trucks and Silverados there. A 4Runner, an Audi, Hyundai, a Bronco, and one sweet Corvette Stingray. It's the best week to get the most money on any vehicle you want to sell. Bring it to All-Star tomorrow, today, anytime this week, and you'll get a big check right there, even if you didn't buy it from All-Star. Don't miss out on All-Star Chevy's end of summer sale going on right now in Olive Branch at All-Star Chevrolet. For more information, go to allstarautogroup.com.
Let's get to another break. When we come back, we've got to do more wins and losses. We did 4 teams earlier. We've got to get to some more teams because it's game week, and so we got to get everything officially official on the book. So when we get back, Navy and Charlotte, Missouri and Kentucky, we'll do that next on Sports Time.
Add a little fun to your lunch break. Join Johnny Radio for Sports 56 Happy Hour from 11 to 1 every weekday on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Hello, sports fans out there. Walker Taylor here with the Germantown and Collierville Commissary. We just celebrated our 43rd year in business, and I would like to thank our fantastic customers and especially our loyal staff. Time has flown by. We now have a second location, Poplar and Houston Levy in Collierville. Catering is a specialty of ours. 50 to 5,000, no job too small, no job too big. Full service or self-service. We also have a party room in Collierville that is great for rehearsal dinners, business meetings, you name it, we'd love to have you. Also, our barbecue party packs start at $8.75 a person. Barbecue, beans, slaw, bun sauce, including serving utensils. Especially great for tailgating with football season coming up. The commissary restaurants also believe in giving back to the community. Possibly you have been approached by somebody selling a barbecue 6-pack coupon for fundraising. Cheerleading groups, church groups, anything to help a worthy cause. Holidays are near. Smoked hams and smoked turkeys will be on the pit before you know it. Come see us at Germantown and Collierville Commissary. Also check us out at commissarybarbecue.com.
Whether you're tinkering in your garage or tackling big projects, if you know the value of working with your hands, you know Harbor Freight. And you can be confident knowing that at Harbor Freight, you can get quality tools at prices that work just as hard as you. Because the only thing more satisfying than a job well done is a job well done, well under budget. Whatever you do it for less than Harbor Freight.
Sunrise Summer Summer Sale at Sunrise Buick GMC at Wolf Chase. Get up to $11,000 off MSRP with royalty on a new loaded 24 Sierra 1500. Or choose new GMC Sierra 2500 heavy duty at $7,000 off MSRP. Sunrise Buick GMC at Wolf Chase. We are professional brand.
This does not include licensing costs, registration fees, taxes, and dealer dock fee of $899.50, which are to be paid by the consumer. Light duty RG $245,378 in transit. MSRP $90,475. Dealer discount $57.50. Factory rebate $27.50. Loyalty $2,500. Must own 2010 or newer Buick or GMC vehicle. Heavy duty RF $381,279 in transit. MSRP $97,330. Dealer discount $7,000. Expires 9/3/24.
Chris Price here for Brian Elder Roofing. For nearly 2 decades, we've installed some of the best roof systems across the Mid-South. To the tens of thousands of clients we've served, we are honored. So many of you call our team at Brian Elder Roofing your roofers. Our team is dedicated to serving you and keeping your family safe, dry, and mold-free. The recent hailstorms have caused massive damage, and many of these will go unnoticed for years, even though the golf ball-sized hail we just experienced in the Mid-South compromises even the best-built roof system. Whether we find damage or not, your photos are securely stored for future reference. Call Brian Elder Roofing today for a total evaluation of your entire roof system free. We will not try to sell you a roof if all you need is a repair. Call me at 901-867-0303. That's 901-867-0303. Or visit us online at brianelderroofing.com.
Progressive knows finding your new home was a dream come true. You wanted a colonial with high ceilings, hardwood floors, and a peaceful neighborhood. And you found it. Now, every Saturday at 6 a.m., you get to wake to the sound of your neighbor's leaf blower. Progressive can't save you from your noisy neighbors, but we can save you money when you bundle your home and auto with us. Get a quote at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and other insurers not available in all states.
Family Leisure is having the world's biggest spa set. It's happening right now. You can save thousands on in-stock hot tubs that are ready to be delivered. Family Leisure has spas that start at just $28.99. You know those cold plunges? You can get one for yourself starting at $39.99. Or how about swim spas? They start at $17,499. Plus, Family Leisure has set up special financing just for this event. Have you been sitting on the fence about an above-ground pool? Get off that fence and get to Family Leisure to take advantage of huge discounts on all their in-stock above-ground pools. And if you need some patio furniture, it's all priced to move out now. It's not too late to have some summer fun, courtesy of Family Leisure. But you better hurry up. The world's biggest spa sale might go on forever. Family Leisure. Wait and run at I-40. Family and fun come together.
This Sports 56 traffic report is brought to you by Luttrell Building. They keep you moving.
Good afternoon. Still working with a couple of accidents out here. Here's what we're seeing. Heavy traffic now on 40 East from Sycamore View Road all the way out to Germantown Parkway. Got a little bit slow a few minutes ago on 40 westbound. You come past 269 with that traffic flow coming in from Fayette County into Shelby County. I didn't see any kind of lanes blocked or anything, just heavy traffic up through there coming westbound on I-40 in that area. Weimer's Jewelry, 7525 Highway 64 is your full service family-owned jewelry store here in Memphis. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Welcome back into Sports Time. Bryant and Brett with you as we got about 30 minutes left in today's show. We did some wins and losses earlier in the show, knocked 4 out. We got to knock 4 out in this segment as well. So, Brett, where you want to start?
Your choice.
Okay, let's go with my Fighting Biff Pogies. We'll go with Charlotte.
Darian has Charlotte 4-8.
Wow.
I have Charlotte 5-7.
Wow.
3-5 in the AAC.
How about that, Brett? I also have Charlotte 5-7, and I think could get that 6th win. And I have one circled. They could get that 6th win and be bowl eligible.
I have them starting 0-2 with losses to James Madison and at UNC, and then defeating Gardner-Webb, losing at Indiana, losing at Rice, defeating East Carolina. How about that? Upset over ECU. Win over Navy with what I have Navy, what I'm getting ready to pick them doing. Losing to the Tigers, losing at Tulane, losing at USF, defeating FAU, and losing at UAB. Their last 3 games, that's the alphabet soup of the league, isn't it?
It sure
USF,
is.
FAU, and UAB.
No, it absolutely is. So that's interesting. We got there a little differently from each other. So I have them 5-7.
Zany American. And that's where you always get me every year in the American.
I do, and I don't know about this year. But for Charlotte, I have them losing the first 2 games of the season. I have them beating Gardner-Webb. Then I have them losing to Indiana. Then I have them getting back-to-back wins against Rice on the road at Rice, and then home against East Carolina. I have them losing at Navy, but I have that game circled as that 6th win for them to get bowl eligible. Then I have them losing back-to-back games against Memphis and Tulane. So that's a 3-game losing streak for them against Navy, Memphis, and Tulane. They have the off week. Then I have another loss to USF, and then I have them winning their final 2 games against FAU and UAB.
You scare me with a circle. Remember, all I want for my copy is W and L.
I don't have anything circled on there. It's a mental circle there, Brett.
You gave me one color-coded, and I'm sitting there at 1 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday night trying to grade these. I'm going, what is this?
Well, I've been told in the past that my handwriting, my L's and W's can look similar. So, we're just trying something different.
For Navy, Darian has Navy 4-8. Also, what do you have, Navy?
I have Navy 4-8.
I have Navy 2-10.
Wow.
2-10, only 2 wins. They start 2-0. That's the good part.
That is a good
beat
part.
Bucknell, the mighty Bison, beat Temple. Everybody's going to beat Temple, and then lose 10 straight.
Wow, holy cow. Yeah, I have them winning those 2 games. I have them, and maybe it's just my AAC brotherhood coming out. I have them beating Air Force on the road. Now that the American has 2 of the of those military academies in it.
Really control the Commanders-in-Chief trophy.
Exactly. So now with Air Force out, we got to pick against Air Force. So I have them beating Air Force, and then I have them beating Charlotte. But again, that one's circled. That one could easily be flipped. A loss for Navy and a win for Charlotte.
To the SEC, Mizzou and Kentucky. Which one first?
Let's do Kentucky first.
Darian has Kentucky going 7-5. That's exactly what I have Mark Stoops going. They're 6.5 season win total in Vegas. Aren't they that every year?
Yeah, that's as consistent as it comes, Brett.
We're going to see if Brock Vandegrift was all the high school accolades were really worth it. If it is, they go over 7 wins.
Oh yeah, no, you're definitely right about that. I mean, and that's over, especially lately. That's been Kentucky. It's like if your quarterback is successful, you can. I mean, the sky's the limit. If your quarterback, like we saw last year,
took a step back with Devin Leary.
Yeah, Devin Leary really didn't kind of
may have the best wide receiver in the league.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And so I think definitely. I mean, you're around that point. It's always like kind of around 6 wins, 7 wins. But if quarterback plays there, you could definitely surpass that.
2-0 start. They defeat Southern Miss and South Carolina, both those games in Lexington. They lose at home to Georgia. They defeat Ohio U, the Bobcats, Bill Bender's alma mater. They lose in Oxford to Ole Miss, defeat Vanderbilt, lose to Florida in Gainesville, beat Auburn in Lexington, lose in Knoxville, beat Murray State, lose to Texas, and win the Governor's Cup, the Commonwealth Championship game, and beat Louisville.
I'm pretty similar there. I've got wins over Southern Miss, South Carolina, a loss against Georgia, win against Ohio, loss against Ole Miss, win against Vanderbilt, loss against Florida, win against Auburn, loss against Tennessee, and then a win against Murray State, a loss against Texas, and a win against Louisville.
Now for Mizzou. Darian has Mizzou 9-3. What do you have?
10-2.
I'm 9-3 too, Darian.
Wow, 10-2 Mizzou. How about that?
Yeah. Your losses are too?
My 2 losses are at College Station against Texas A&M and in Tuscaloosa against Alabama.
And in South Carolina.
Well, yeah, okay, whatever.
I'm telling you.
My 3 losses are to Auburn at home.
Wow.
At home to Oklahoma.
Wow.
And in Tuscaloosa at Alabama.
Wow, so we were a little different there with the losses from
Brady
Missouri.
Cook, Luther Bolden, best wide receiver quarterback combo in the league?
100%, I think.
I think so. You're going to see just how good, and it took. When did we ever appreciate Cody Schrader?
Not as much as we should have.
It took a lot of the year to do it.
It did.
If we ever did.
Yes. Good point. If we ever did, it took a while, and that's kind of what scares me. You got to replace that running back when you had such a great running back that came out of nowhere. Nobody was expecting him to do that, and you could run it, and you knew you could get a big play at any time. You could throw it, you knew you could get a big play at any time. And we talk so much about Luther Burden. They had other weapons at the wide receiver position that came up big for them. They've got the quarterback. Now you got to replace that running back, which definitely worries me. Defense is a question mark, but I think they can get it together and win 10 games.
And I'll say the same thing about Ole Miss when we pick them on Friday. A question for Mizzou is the same question for Ole Miss. Can you be on the right side of the rabbit's foot again this year like last year? Last year, Mizzou squeaked out a narrow win in Week 2 over Middle Tennessee. Think what a loss would have done for team confidence. Then they need a 65-yard field goal at the buzzer to beat Kansas State. It took a 7-point win and getting the game played in St. Louis to beat the Tigers last year. They beat Jaden Daniels, the Heisman Trophy winner, at home. I mean, is the rabbit's foot going to be that good again for them this year? Very same, I'll say about Ole Miss on Friday with all those fortunate wins last year.
Yeah, definitely. And you're right. There were some big wins at the beginning of the season from Missouri that, they really needed some luck. And so I think there's a lot of question marks with this Missouri team. But, for that fan base, for that coaching staff, what a better position this year to be in at the start of the season than they were last year. I mean, so many question marks. I think way more negative talk about them. And now it's, this team could go to the college football playoffs, and I don't think anybody would be surprised. So, you got to feel good there. They've got the quarterback. They've got the receiver. It's now, can those other guys step up? Can those new faces step up? And, I think going to be a really interesting season for Missouri this year.
Also, like Ole Miss, Eli Drinkwitz a little bit going to the whip a little bit with his fans on attendance Saturday for Murray State. Lane Kiffin won't like it at all if that student section in that stadium is not full at kickoff Saturday.
Yeah, and we've seen that from Lane Kiffin the past couple of years where it's been, an FCS opponent, something like that, and, you see a not impressive crowd, and Lane Kiffin is a coach that he will let you know he's not pleased by that and he expects better.
Can you blame him? No. Almost both of them kind of in the complaint they're saying Y'all want wins. I've delivered wins. Eli Drinkwitz even said, we're a 11th ranked team and we won 11 games last year. What's it take?
Yeah. No, I mean, it's a great question. And I agree with both of them, especially now with the 12-team college football playoff and those expectations and the excitement around it. I mean, it's only grown because of that. Yeah, you should be there every single home game.
They don't want 80% capacity. They want it full and rocking.
Yeah, they don't care if
I don't blame them.
It's Furman on the schedule or if it's Georgia on the schedule at home. They want it packed out and that fan base getting into it.
I had a friend of mine nicely set me a little bit straight on every year, Brian. I've always said about this weekend, it's the last weekend for the Lake. Maybe the last week, to go down to 30A.
Sure.
I don't think dove season opens this weekend, but sometimes it corresponds. I think that's the September first weekend of September thing. How many people aren't going to college football because they're going dove hunting? This is what a friend of mine said. He said, we talking about 200 people?
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe. Come on now.
Exactly. Yeah.
It wouldn't be a dove left alive if it cut into a college football crowd 50%.
No, you would not be able to fill up the stadium with people that are missing college football to go dove hunting. They'll tell you there will be other weekends to go dove hunting.
Are that many really going to Pickwick?
No, I don't think so. So yeah, I mean
we're going to need traffic control out at Pickwick if it is.
I mean you'll need to have people out there because all the houses will be double booked up, rented. I mean,
now, does the season start too early? Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I can agree with that for sure.
And coming soon, week 0 last weekend. Sure. That's going to be week 1.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. But hey, I'm not gonna complain about it because more football the better. The earlier.
When would week 0 be? 4th of July?
Oh, jeez. I mean, yeah. Well, just year round.
During SEC Media Days,
exactly.
week 0.
Yes. SEC Media
That's
Days.
What we need.
Yes,
Brian. That's what we need. One of the nights of SEC Media Days, we need an exhibition game.
I love it. Just have SEC Media Days at the first game of the season on July, whatever,
That'd go over, wouldn't it?
No, it would go over great, I'm sure. I can imagine all the SEC coaches loving that.
We will make more picks tomorrow. Tomorrow we will pick Army, UAB, ECU, and LSU early, and then later we will pick Texas, Oklahoma, and Texas A&M.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's time. All of these are going down, our official picks for both the SEC and the American, and, get you excited with more games on Thursday to kind of start week 1. It's definitely excited with all of the excitement and expectations for a lot of these teams that we're going to be talking about. So I'm definitely looking forward to the rest of the week of doing these predictions and trying to figure everything out and see the differences we have for all of these teams. But we need to go ahead and get to our final break of the day. When we come back, we'll wrap up today's show with Crunch Time.
Join the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin, for Wolo and Friends. Weekday mornings from 10 to 11, here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Locally owned and operated for over 40 years, Automatic Gates Construction tailors custom gate solutions for all your residential, commercial, and industrial needs, including repairs, maintenance, and installation. Automatic Gates Construction specializes in designing and installing automatic gates and fencing that seamlessly blends security, functionality, and aesthetic appeal. Elevate the safety and efficiency of your property with a premium gate solution. Automatic Gates Construction at myautomaticgates.com.
All 650 acquisition fee, $20,000 per year, 20 cents excess mileage, Forte RE 794066, MSRP 21820, Telluride RG 543,666, MSRP 39835, EV9 R602 29603, MSRP 61035. Lease terms include all rebates and incentives and a PF 695, includes tax, title, license, registration, and fees. Must finance through Hyundai with approved credit, valid through 8/31/24. Dealer stock only.
Hey, Jeff Allen, what's up over there at Gossett Kia South Mount Moriah?
I know what's down, Randy. Prices at Gossett Kia Mount Moriah. You looking to save? 41 MPG Highway in a 2024 Kia Forte LXS, $199 a month, $37.99 due at signing. I've got a 2024 Kia Telluride S front-wheel drive, $379 per month, $39.99 due at signing. And Randy, talk about saving big bucks, 304 EPA estimate range for $389 a month in a 2024 Kia EV9 Lite, $49.99 due at signing, all 24-month lease.
Plus the 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain limited warranty.
So whether you live in Horn Lake, South Haven, Olive Branch, or Memphis, you'll be happy at Gossett Kia on Mount Moriah.
Powder Coating for a beautiful finish every time. Rick's Powder Coating specializes in automotive, ornamental, residential, and industrial coating. With 2 conveyor lines and the largest batch ovens in the Mid-South, Rick's can accommodate all of your powder coating needs. Locally owned and operated since 2002, Rick's Powder Coating will customize a beautiful finish just for you. Drop by or call to see how Rick's Powder Coating can bring color to your life. 901-367-2771 or rickspowdercoating.com.
Are you looking to save on gas? Well, we got it covered at Gossett Kia on the Pike with 41 MPG Highway and your new 2024 Kia Forte LXS. $199 a month, $37.99 to its signing. Or how about a 2024 Kia EV9 Lite with 0% APR available for 48 months? Or get 304 EPA estimated range for $389 a month, $49.99 to its signing. All 24-month lease. Plus, you always get peace of mind with Kia's 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain limited warranty. Call Bobby J. He's ready to put you in your new Kia today. That's Gossett Kia 1900 Covington Pike or online 24/7, 365 at KiaCovingtonPike.com.
If you want it, we got it at Gossett Motor Cars.
Acquisition fee $20,000 per year, 20 cents excess mileage. Forte RE 794-066, MSRP 21820, EV9 R60 29603, MSRP 61035. Lease terms include all rebates and incentives, and PF 695 includes tax, title, license, registration, and fees. Must finance through Hyundai with approved credit, valid through 8/31/24. Dealer stock only.
Whether you're tinkering in your garage or tackling big projects, if you know the value of working with your hands, you know Harbor Freight. And you can be confident knowing that at Harbor Freight, you can get quality tools at prices that work just as hard as you. Because the only thing more satisfying than a job well done is a job well done, well under budget. Whatever you do it for less than Harbor Freight.
The best I do's start with Sissy's Blue. Discover bridal jewelry worthy of your big day at Sissy's Log Cabin, along with our spectacular experience that comes with our promise of exceptional quality, service, and brilliant natural diamonds. Experience our expansive selection when you stop by any of our 6 locations or shop online at sissyslogcabin.com. Find your perfect engagement ring only at Sissy's Log Cabin, because life's too short for ordinary jewelry.
Now back to Sportstime on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Here once again are Brett Norsworthy and Brian Davis.
This is pretty cool, and we're just getting started, so.
5 seconds left in the game. Do you believe in miracles? Yes!
Spanning the globe.
Go crazy, folks! Go crazy!
This is for all the biggest crunch time.
You are looking live. In your life have you seen anything like that? Goodbye! Hello, Haskins.
It's obviously crunch time.
Hammer, nail, coffin. This baby is over.
Well, Brett, there was a lot I learned today. It was a very busy day in the college football world as we got depth charts, news from a lot of places, a lot of announcements and different things going on. So one thing I learned today was from Clemson. It's official. Clemson football coach Dabo Swinney will no longer take live phone calls from fans on his weekly radio show. The new format is called Tiger Sports Hour with Dabo Swinney. Fans will be able to submit questions to him via text or email. The first show is tonight, and this all comes after last year, and Tyler from Spartansburg called in when the team was 4-4 and was not very happy.
Hadn't lost since,
Dabo.
have they?
I don't think they have. They played. They played.
That's
really
when
well.
Dabo said you better be buying Clemson stock.
That's true. Also, in terms of Clemson, if you go online to look at Clemson's depth chart, it says Clemson's initial depth chart for the 2024 season will be available at Mercedes-Benz Stadium on game day. So they're not releasing a depth chart. You're starting to see more of that.
Ole Miss didn't.
Yeah, you're starting to see more of it to just try to keep your players in-house and keep them away from seeing that, hey, you're not the starter week one. The last thing I saw very quickly, we talked about UConn earlier. It's been announced they're going to be the first school and team to feature an NIL collective logo on its football field. Store Central will be posted on each of the 25-yard lines to just remind people that there is an NIL fund and you can be a part of it.
I think people, I'm serious, I think people ought to be the bucket brigade like we used to at the JC ballpark in Far City, and you'd pass the bucket around and people would put in money however they saw fit to keep to support the league.
I'm for it.
NIL people ought to be out working the parking lot.
I love it. Money here, money here. I love
what
it.
I learned is C.D. Lamb, he got his deal, and all these other deals will get taken care of. And Bryant, tomorrow with Bo Marchand in the 5 o'clock hour, we will pick the NFC, and you're going to love my pick.
Can't wait.
For our Cowboys.
Oh, you're back. You're back.
Our Cowboys.
I love it.
My NFC team.
Yeah.
The Browns are my AFC team.
Okay, I like it. I'm all for it for sure. But yeah, some people might ask, Brett, why has Bryant not mentioned C.D. Lamb yet? It's because, we knew it was going to happen.
It's been quiet.
We knew he was going to be signed. We've been talking Super Bowl for so long. This only just solidifies it. So, why?
Do you still have the map for the parade route?
Oh, yeah. It's in
Ring
there.
size and everything been sent in?
We put it on a shelf, just keep it, safe and tidy. But now, with this news, we pull it back out, and it's right there on the top of the dresser.
Darian and I will be here for you.
I am so here for him.
Yeah, I don't need y'all here for me, because I'll be in a parade,
You don't want us?
Please. What I could have done without a quote I saw earlier. Jimbo Fisher, could he make a return to coaching? This is what he had to say. Quote, there is only so much you can hunt and fish before you want to get back in. I'll be watching a lot of film this year and see if there is the right opportunity for me to get back into it next season. So Jimbo Fisher.
Pass.
He might be back.
One of your dove hunters.
That's
One
right.
of your dove hunters.
He'll be out dove hunting. That's right.
And he's at Pickwick.
That's exactly. He's everywhere.
He could buy Pickwick.
He sure could.
I could have done without all the crying Florida State did last year and all the bragging they did all summer and then go out and lose. They're going to lose 2 or 3 more times, I think, at least this year. The big bad Noel defense did not have a single quarterback sack, and Georgia Tech had 336 yards on offense. And a little bit like their most famous alum, FSU was a lot of talk and didn't back it up like Coach Softtime does.
Well, yes, they were. It was kind of a little bit surprising to see how that game played out on Saturday, but now they're 0-1, but that doesn't mean it's the end of their season, because now what makes all of this interesting is all they got to do is win their conference. And now, 0-1 in conference, but still, depending on what the rest of the season looks like, they could still be the ACC representative.
Real quick, how hard one. Okay. Jimbo Fisher saying he's going to probably make himself available next year. If Arkansas could only hire one of these two coaches, they have to hire a coach at the end of the year.
I don't like this question already.
Jimbo Fisher or Rhett Lashley?
Oh, I take Rhett Lashley. Even after what I saw, I take Rhett Lashley. I think
I don't touch him. I saw Saturday night was Gus. That was Gus Jr. on display out there.
I did not like what I saw on Saturday, but I will give him the benefit of the doubt, and I'll say maybe. Here's
I'd take Jimbo.
I say throw all the money you have at Brent Key and try to get him away from Georgia Tech.
Yeah. The two Brents, Brent Prime, Brent Key, people are going to be coming at after this year.
I think you're absolutely right. Where are you beaming tonight?
Not many more beams to baseball until the wonders of October, but tonight I will. Give me the long day of baseball in Cleveland, battle for the AL Central between KC and Cleveland. Cleveland's been in first place since April 14th.
Wow. Is that right?
Yep. If it's wrong, their game notes are wrong.
That's a good note, though. It really is. I'll beam, and a lot of people question this decision, beam me to the South Side tonight to watch the Detroit Tigers versus the Chicago White Sox. The 65-66 Tigers against the 31-100. Hard to say. 31-100 Chicago White Sox. Should be a great game.
They're not getting to 40, are they?
It doesn't feel like it. But you've got, for Detroit, a guy making his MLB debut that had a 7 median ERA in AAA. They tell you it's more than just the ERA at the AAA level. They see more down there, whatever that means. Against, obviously, the Chicago White Sox, they speak for themselves. That could be an interesting one tonight if you like chaos.
Tonight, a mountain of game notes we'll be going through, including those baseball game notes from Cleveland. NFL cut starting. Showboats will keep an eye on that as well, because that could be some of the players that they will have next spring in Memphis. Cardinals, Padres, at a lot of empty seats at Busch Stadium. Astros at Phillies, and a rematch of the 1991 World Series. I think that's when Coach Softtime dumped the water over Tim McCarver between Atlanta and Minnesota in 91. I think that's when that happened. 91
right?
Or 92 is when he pulled that.
Yeah, well, you made a good point about the roster cuts in the NFL, because Showboats will definitely keep an eye on that with a lot of their picks that they took in the most recent drafts. A lot of those guys getting opportunities with the NFL in preseason, so we'll definitely keep an eye on that, and maybe we'll have a better idea of who could be on this Showboats roster in the spring. But it is a good night of Major League Baseball tonight. More of a limited slate, but definitely some good games out there. But that's all the time we have. Enjoy your night. We'll talk to you again tomorrow afternoon.
Simple, smooth, and every sip as easy as the last. Tito's handmade vodka tastes just as good with tap water as it does your favorite mixers. Back in the day, Tito distilled, hand bottled, taste tested, sent out to a few friends, then taste tested again.